let's get into it. My name is Marvin. I'm CEO and co-founder of itemary. And as you may recognize, I'm not a developer, but to say it straightforward, I'm going to change our app live during the keynote. But let me quick introduce you in my journey to itemary. I've been working in finance for over 10 years, and almost 2 years ago I felt kind of exhausted about this whole corporate big industry, and I tried to do something new. I tried to figure out who I am, and totally normal reaction to that, I just quit my job, and after it I booked a flight to Southeast Asia to do a 6-month sabbatical. But before I did that, I don't know if you guys know, if you're feeling kind of stuck in your head or feeling unorganized, people tending to clean and declutter their environment. And I did the same. I was cleaning my apartment. I was taking all the things out of my attic, out of the base room, out of my cellar. And after a couple of minutes, I was sitting in my room and I was thinking, fuck, you own so many things that you never use. And that was the starting point of itemary. And while I'm telling you what itemary is, what I would like you to do is please stand up and download the application. No worries, it's totally free, but we're gonna use it during the keynote now, because as I said, I would like to show you that I'm changing live in our app some things, so don't hesitate to scan the QR code. And if you're downloading it at the moment, you can just use it. So what is itemary about? Itemary is a fast lane for online second-hand selling. You took a photo with the application and you get all the listing details like the price, a description and a title. And now you have basically two possibilities, as you might figure it out now while using it. You can just save it and build your own digital inventory, or you can choose different kind of marketplaces like eBay, Kleinanzeigen or Vinted and list it cross-platform, so from photo to sale in just a few steps. But we are currently at the IT Career Summit, so let's speak at least a little bit about IT, but as I said, I'm not a developer at all. I try to describe it as good as possible. So a little bit about our technical setup with itemary. We are using React Native and Supabase for development. For the AI processing, we are working with Go microservices. And for our analyst part, we are using an LLM wrapper. Basically, it's Gemini, Flashlight, and Google Cloud Vision API. But in the future, we will build our own product database as well. We create our listings via APIs, and basically that is the whole setup. Probably a few of you will recognize that I'm not so good in explaining our tech stack. As I said, I'm not a developer. I can't write code, I can't read code, and yes, I can describe barely what Itemary's tech stack is about, but please don't ask me any questions detailed on this part. But what I can do is I can change our app live. And let's just get into it. Basically, my working environment, beside of React Native and Supabase, that's what my CTO do, are these three. On the one side, Visual Studio Code, which is my interface, which I'm working. Then OpenAI Codex is a Visual Studio Code extension. And over-the-air, straight-to-production commitments, which makes sure that we can push changes in our app live in seconds and not in weeks with reviews. But beside of all the words, let's just try it. I hope it's going to work, otherwise you will never have seen me. So this is Visual Studio Code. As I said, my working environment. And what you see here is not a sandbox, it's real itemary code. And on the right side, we have Codex, the extension of Visual Studio Code, which gives us access to the OpenAI LLM. And here you know the interface of many LLMs. You can literally just put in your brain dump, but to be more specific, I prepared a master prompt with OpenAI or Claude and told him, please create an overlay for our application itemary and say, you're going to see it in the app. Please make sure it's connected to the current style guide and so on. So it's just a prompt. It took me 30 seconds to create this prompt, to put my brain dump into a written prompt. And what I do now is just tell him to execute. And now Codex is writing the code live in the itinerary hard code. And while he's writing and working, some questions to you guys. So imagine in former times you had an idea to create something new in the UI of your application. You need a designer and someone who writes the code. What do you think, how long would have these process former days taken? $10 minutes? 20, 30, days. Days. It depends like how much do you want to create and change. But yeah, like for example, first of all, you need a designer to create the overlay. Maybe the designer is using Canva or Figma or whatever, but the designer has to create the front end basically. And then the designer takes over or gives over the design front end to the developer, and the developer sees the front end. He has to check, okay, what parts of my code are affected by this change, and he has to write all the lines. And as you already see live here on stage, right at the bottom, the Codex AI is creating the code by itself. So I asked my co-founder and CTO what he thought, like how much time would it need to do these changes with a designer and a front-end developer, and he was saying like maybe 2 or 3 days. 3 hours. Sorry. I think it depends on how much you are going to change and how fast the people are, but we can align that it took hours. So for me, I'm not a designer, I'm not a developer. It was just, I had something in my mind, please create an overlay for the ITCS community, for the people. I want to show them something live in our app. I told it Claude did the master prompt. Now I put the master prompt into Codex. And as you now see, it's done. He wrote in total 146 new lines. He deleted one, and it took us 2 minutes. Plus the 1 minute I had like while doing the design part from my head in the master prompt. So now it's in the code, and what we can do now very easily is just commit it live into our application. Therefore, we need a special prompt. You can ask any AI to give you the prompt. I got it from my CTO, but let's try and hopefully it will work. So what you normally do now, this is over the air, straight to production. What you would have done now when you did some changes with your application, you would do a new build and put it for an Apple or Google Play review in the stores and wait for the review to push it live into your customer's interface. But now we can push it over the air, and so I think it's done. Fingers crossed. Let's open that. Maybe you have to close it once. So, who of you downloaded the app before? And maybe you see the change here. Does it work for you as well? Yeah, you have it. So most of you should have like this overlay here. Is this a super, super, super small change? It's not rocket science. By far it is not. But as I said, as I asked you, this kind of little overlay should have took 3 hours, maybe more before, and now I can do it. I'm not a designer. I can just like, basically I'm just a salesperson. And I can commit a change in our app live now in seconds. What would I like you to say with that? My point is that with AI, roles are shifting hard. For example, as founders, you are able to ship and create prototypes in days. Back in my story, when I went to Southeast Asia with this problem in my head of all the things I have and can't get rid of, I was doing a yoga teacher training in India, and there was like one day I was really like, I had to do something else. And I asked a friend and I interviewed him about the idea of itemary, and he told me, have you heard about Lovable? And I was like, no. Please check it out. And I just created my own website in 2 hours. I did my first prototype in 2 days, and I don't have any specific knowledge about design or coding. So founders can create and can visualize their ideas very fast. What about product owners? Who was a former product owner who wrote like approaches for designers or developers? Product owners are going to be the new front-end designers, because with AI it's super easy. Claude design, you can use Codex to design your own prototypes, and you product owners already know a little bit more about code as me. And in the end, the most important persons, developers. Developers build now what once took whole teams in months. Like me and Markus, we created itemary in almost weeks and not in years. So everyone is one step closer to the code, and this isn't the end of developers. That's very important to say. I would never see myself as a developer, and I would never say I can write or read code. But I can, in the end, execute more things, which mean that product owners or developers have to do the same. As I said, itemary is built in weeks and not years, and we are super much looking forward to get in contact with talented, motivated people. Please give us some feedback on their application. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm super happy to be here. If you have any questions, I'm open to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marvin. That was the most interactive presentation of the whole day. To keep it that way, you still can ask questions. He's here live on stage, and I will give you around the microphone. There, I see a question.
That was fast. I'm kind of scared now.
When will you integrate Kleinanzeigen?
That's a very good question. So I don't know if everybody hears it. The question was when we integrate Kleinanzeigen, because so far we have a connection to eBay. I think I have to explain for a couple of the younger people. There's a boomer eBay and the Generation Z eBay, and the boomer eBay is the older one. They have an open marketplace API, which makes it super easy to connect. Kleinanzeigen as well as Vinted, for example, are more restrictive, and that's what I talked about a lot with a couple of people here today. We are still looking for a workaround which is not only legal but also aligned with the policies of marketplaces like Kleinanzeigen and Vinted, and as well UX-wise well designed, which gives us the integration, the connection to the other platforms. So to answer your questions, I'm not pretty sure. We are still looking what marketplaces we are integrating next. But if any one of you has an idea how to create a smart flow aligned with the policies, I think web scraping and crawling is kind of edgy there, but I'm happy to discuss.
Hello. My question would be, how experienced are you with the outcome of the quality when you directly merge or submitted the code that you generated with the AI? Is there any experience about the quality? Did you encounter bugs, and are you able to fix them also with the AI?
That's a very good question, and I think it depends who you ask. If my co-founder and CTO Markus would be here, he would totally say, "Yeah, the quality is kind of and bug fixing is kind of edgy." And I'm more like a person of 70% is fine enough for our customers. We are early stage startups. We have to make mistakes. Just push it. So I think it also depends on what do you want to change. Like if it's like small textings, UI, like everything which is not native, you can push over the air, and it's quite easy. And if you give the LLM enough context about your about your source code and about your architecture, it's pretty accurate, and bug fixing works for itself pretty good. But as more complex as it gets, and that's why I was telling you the roles are shifting. As more complex as you get, I'm not able to do complex things what probably a product owner could do, and a product owner couldn't do more complex things which a really good developer could do. So it's not a really a yes or no, but I hope it answers your question. And
so my question would be, what is your CSO saying to the programming with AI?
our CSO?
The Chief Security Officer.
Oh yeah. So because it's only me and Markus, and I would like to have Markus at its best in developing, I'm covering all the other C levels. So my answer is, let's do it. I think it's the same. It's almost the same answer as it is on the former question. It depends on what are you working with. I would never let AI do compliance, security stuff, anything what is based on customer personal data, but changing the UI, editing some text. Start with easy stuff. So there are still experts needed in every kind of situation, but yeah. Maybe I can answer this question if or when we have such a person in the company, but I think it's like always a personal view of what is good and secure, and in the end it depends on the product as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions left? Okay, you explained it so well, there aren't. But if there are any questions left, you can see the QR code to Marvin's LinkedIn, and he will be here in person as well, right? How long do you will stay here?
It depends how much free beer is available at the festival. No, I'm kidding. I'm just having a expedition stand behind this stage. I will be here for a couple of more minutes, hours. Just get in contact with me as well on LinkedIn. Super curious to hear your ideas, and thanks a lot for listening to my company.